right. Hey, good morning, everybody. Good to see you all this morning. God only knows. King and Country. Awesome song. Hey, listen, today we're going to do the 7-4-14, and help you get your morning started just right. So, chapter 7 questions. So that means the chapters beforehand. Largest chapter in the Science of Getting Rich is the one on gratitude. So we're going to get started here this morning. The illustrations given in the last chapter will have conveyed to the reader the fact that the first step toward getting rich is to convey the idea of your wants to the formless substance. This is true, and you will see that in order to do so becomes necessary to relate yourself to the formless intelligence in a harmonious way. To secure this harmonious relationship in a matter of such primary and vital importance, that I will give some space to its discussion here. I will give you instructions which, if you follow them, will be certain to bring you into perfect unity of mind with God. The whole process of mental adjustment and attunement can be summed up into one word. We're always looking for the hack. We're looking for the simple tool, right? And here's the one word: gratitude. First, you believe that there is one intelligent substance from which all things proceed. Secondly, you believe that this substance gives you everything you desire. And thirdly, you relate yourself to it through a feeling of deep and profound gratitude. Many people who order their lives rightly in all other ways are kept in poverty by their lack of gratitude. Having received one gift from God, they cut the wires which connect them with Him by failing to make acknowledgement. It's easy to understand that the nearer we live to the source of wealth, the more wealth we shall receive. It is also very easy to understand that a soul that is always grateful lives in closer touch with God than one who never looks to Him in thankful acknowledgement. When good things come to us, the more gratefully we are fixed our minds on the supreme power, the more good things we will receive, and the more rapidly they will come. The reason for this is simply that the mental attitude of gratitude draws the mind in closer touch with the source from which blessings come. If it is a new thought to you that gratitude brings your whole mind into closer harmony with the creative energies of the universe, consider it well. And you will see that it is true. The good things you already possess have come to you because of certain laws. Gratitude will lead your mind out along the ways by which things come. And it will keep you in close harmony to the creative thought and prevent you from falling into the competitive thought. Gratitude alone can keep you looking toward the infinite and prevent you from falling into error of thinking that the supply of riches is limited. To think that would be fatal to your hopes. There is a law of gratitude, and if you are to get the results you seek, it is absolutely necessary that you observe this law. The law of gratitude is the natural principle that action and reaction are always equal in opposite directions. The grateful outreaching of your mind in thankful praise to the supreme power is a liberation or experience or expenditure of force. It cannot fail to reach that which it is addressed. And as a result, God responds with an instantaneous movement toward you. Draw nigh unto God, and He will draw nigh unto you. That is a statement of psychological truth. And if your gratitude is strong and constant, the reaction of the formless substance will be strong and continuous. The movement of the things you want will always be toward you. Notice the grateful attitude that Jesus took and how He always seems to be saying, I thank Thee, Father. How He always seems to be saying, I thank Thee, Father, that Thou hearest me. You cannot exercise much power without gratitude, because it is gratitude that keeps you connected with power. But the value of gratitude does not consist solely in getting more blessings in the future. Without gratitude, you cannot keep from being dissatisfied when things are as they are. The moment you permit your mind to dwell with dissatisfaction upon the things as they are, you begin to lose ground. You fix attention upon the common, the poor, the squalid, the mean, and your mind takes the form of these things. You will then transmit these forms or mental images to the formless. Thus, the common, the poor, the squalid, and the means will come to you. To permit your mind to dwell upon the inferior is to become inferior and surround yourself with inferior things. On the other hand, to fix your attention on the best is to surround yourself with the best and become the best. The creative power within us makes us into the image of that which we give our attention. The creative power within us makes us into the image of that which we give our attention. We are thinking substance. And thinking substance always takes the form of that which it thinks about. The grateful mind is constantly fixed upon the best. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It tends to form or character takes it. Therefore, it tends to become the best. It takes the form or character of the best and will receive the best. Also, faith is born of gratitude. The grateful mind continually expects good things, and expectation becomes faith. The reaction of gratitude upon one's own mind produces faith. The person who has no feeling of gratitude cannot long retain a living faith. And, as we shall see in the following chapters, without a living faith, you cannot get rich by the creative method. It is necessary, then, to cultivate the habit of being grateful for every good thing that comes to you, to give thanks continuously. And because all things have contributed to your advancement, you should include all things in your gratitude. Do not waste time or talking about the shortcomings or the wrong actions of plutocrats or trust magnates or business partners or previous clients. The organization of the world has made your opportunity. All that you have received has really come because of them. Do not rage against corporate politicians. If it were not for the politicians, we would fall into anarchy and our opportunity would be greatly lessened. God has worked a long time and very patiently to bring us to where we are in industry and government, and is going right on with his work. I believe that he will do away with the plutocrats, trust magnates, captains of industry, and politicians as soon as they can be spared. Yet, in the meantime, they are very necessary. Remember that they are helping to arrange the lines of transmission along which your riches will come to you. Be grateful to them. This will bring you into a harmonious relationship with the good in everything, and the good in everything will move toward you. Chapter 7, Gratitude. Now on to Chapter 4, the first principle in the science of getting rich. Thought is the only power which can produce tangible riches of the formless substance. This way all things are made in the substance and the substance is a substance which thinks. A thought in the form of the substance produces the form. Original substance moves according to thought. Every form and process you see in nature is a visible expression of the thought of the original substance. As it thinks of a form, it takes that form. As it thinks of motion, it makes that motion. That is the way all things were created. We live in a thought world, and this world is part of the thought universe. A thought of a moving universe extended throughout the formless substance. The thinking stuff, resulting from that thought, took the form of the systems of planets and continues to maintain that form. Thinking substance takes the form of its thought and moves according to the thought. Holding the idea of a circling system of suns and worlds, it took the form of the bodies and moved them accordingly. Although centuries may be required to do the work, by thinking the form of a slow-growing tree, the formless substance produces the tree. In creating, the formless substance seems to move according to the lines of motion it has established. The thought of an oak tree does not cause the instant formation of a full-grown tree. Yet it does start the motion that forces which will produce the tree along the established lines of growth. For every thought form held in thinking substance causes the creation of that form. Yet always, or at least generally, along the lines of growth and action already established. If the thought of a house of a certain construction were impressed upon the formless substance, it might not create the instant formation of the house, yet it would cause the turning of creative energies already working in trade and commerce into such channels as to result in the speedy building of the house. And if there were no existing channels through which the creative energy could work, the house would be formed directly from the primal substance, without waiting for the slow process of the organic or the inorganic world. No thought of form can be impressed upon the original substance without causing the creation of that form. A human being is a thinking center and can create original thought and can originate thought. All forms that a person fashions with his hands must first emerge from his thought. He cannot shape a thing until he has thought that thing. And so far as man has confined his efforts wholly to the work of his hands, he has applied manual labor to the world of forms, seeking to change or modify already existing forms. He has never thought of trying to cause the creation of new forms by impressing his thought upon the formless substance. When a person has a thought form, he takes material from the forms of nature and makes an image of the form which is in his mind. He has, so far, made little or no effort to cooperate with the formless intelligence, to work with the Father. He has not dreamed that he can do what he seeth the Father doing. Man reshapes and modifies existing forms by manual labor. He has not considered the question of whether he could produce thoughts from the formless substance by communicating his thoughts to it. I propose to prove that he may do so. To prove that any man or woman may do so, and to show how. My first step will be to lay down three fundamental propositions. First, we assert that there is original formless substance from which all things are made. All the seemingly many elements are only different presentations of one element. Energy is. All of the many forms found in the organic and the inorganic nature are naturally different shapes made from the same stuff. And this stuff is thinking stuff. A thought held in it produces the form of the thought. Thought in the thinking substance produces shapes. A human being is a thinking center, capable of original thought. If a person can communicate his thought to the original thinking substance, he can cause the creation of the forms of the things he thinks about. To summarize this, there is a thinking stuff from which all things are made, and which, in its original state, permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance, can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. I can prove this statement by both logic and experience. Reasoning back to the phenomena of form of thought, I come to one original thinking substance. And reasoning forward from the thinking substance, I come to an individual's power to cause the formation of the thing he thinks about. By experiment, I find this reasoning to be true, and this is my strongest proof. If one person who reads this book gets rich by doing what I tell him to do, that is evidence in support of my claim. Furthermore, if every person who does what I tell them to do gets rich, that is proof positive until someone goes through this process and fails. The theory is true until the process fails, and the process will not fail. Because every person who does exactly what I tell him will get rich. I have said that an individual gets rich by doing things in a certain way. In order to do so, a person must become able to think in a certain way. A person's way of doing things is a direct result of the way he thinks about things. To do things in a certain way, to do things in a way you want to do them, you will have to acquire the ability to think the way you want to think. This is the first step in getting rich. To think what you want to think is to think truth, regardless of appearances. Every person has a natural and inherent power to think what he wants to think. Yet it requires far more effort to do so than it does to think the thoughts which are suggested by appearances. To think according to appearances is easy. To think truth, regardless of appearances, is laborious and requires the expenditure of more power than any other work a person has to perform. There is no labor from which most people shrink as they do from that of sustained and consecutive thought. It is the hardest work in the world. This is especially true when truth is contrary to appearances. Every person is the visible world. Every appearance in the visible world tends to produce the corresponding form in the mind which observes it. This can only be prevented by holding the thought of the truth. To look upon appearance of disease will produce the form of disease in your own mind and ultimately in your body. Instead, you must hold the thought of the truth, which is that there is no disease. Disease is only an appearance, and the reality is health. To look upon the appearances of poverty will produce the corresponding forms in your mind. Instead, you must hold the truth that there is no poverty. There is only abundance. It requires to think health when surrounded by the appearances of disease, or to think riches in the midst of the appearances of poverty. Yet, he who acquires this power becomes a master mind. He can conquer fate. He can have what he wants. The power can only be acquired by getting hold of the basic fact which is behind all appearances, that there is one thinking substance from which all things are made. Then we must grasp this truth. We must grasp the truth that every thought held in this substance becomes a form, and that person can impress his thoughts upon it so as to cause them to take form and become visible things. When we realize, we lose all doubt and fear because we know that we can create what we want to create. We can get what we want to have and become what we want to be. As the first step towards getting rich, you must believe the three fundamental statements given previously in this chapter. In order to emphasize them, I will repeat them here. There is a thinking stuff from which all things are made that permeates, penetrates, and fills the inner spaces of the universe. A thought in this substance produces the thing that is imagined by the thought. A person can form things in his thought, and by impressing his thought upon the formless substance can cause the thing he thinks about to be created. You must lay aside all other concepts of the universe than this monastic one. You must dwell upon it until it is fixed in your mind and has become your habitual thought. Read these creed statements over and over again. Fix every word upon your memory and meditate upon them until you firmly believe what they say. If a doubt comes to you, cast it aside as a sin. Do not listen in argument against these ideas. Do not go to churches or lectures where this contrary concept of things is taught or preached. Do not read magazines or books which teach a different idea. If you get mixed up in your faith, all your efforts will be in vain. Do not ask why these are true, nor speculate as to how they can be true. Simply take them on trust. The science of getting rich begins with an absolute acceptance of this faith, the first principle in the science of getting rich. Chapter 14. The impression of increase. Whether you choose your vocation or not, you must direct your present actions to the business in which you are presently engaged. You can get into a business you want by making constructive use of the business you are already established in, by doing your daily work in a certain way. And as if insofar as your business consists of dealing with other people, whether directly, by telephone, or by letter, the key thought of all your efforts must be to convey to their mind the impression of increase. Increase is what all men and women are seeking. It is the urge of the formless intelligence within them to find fuller expression. The desire for increase is inherent in all nature. This is the fundamental impulse of the universe. All human activities are based on the desire for increase. People are seeking more food, more clothes, better shelter, more luxury, more beauty, more knowledge, more pleasure, more life. Every living thing is under the necessity for continuous advancement. Where increase of life ceases, dissolution and death set in at once. People instinctively know this, and hence they are forever seeking more. The law of perpetual increase is set forth by Jesus in the parable of the talents. Only those who gain more retain any. For him who hath not shall be taken away even which he hath. The normal desire for increased wealth is not an evil or a reprehensible thing. It is simply the desire for more abundant life. And because it has the deepest instinct of their natures, all men and women are attracted to the individual who can give them more of the means of life. In following the certain way, as described in the foregoing pages, you are getting continuous increase for yourself, and you are giving it to all with whom you deal. You are a creative center from which increase is given to all. Be sure of this and convey assurance of this fact to every man, woman, and child with whom you come in contact, no matter how small the transaction, even if you are selling a stick of candy to a little child. Put into this action the thought of increase and make sure that the customer is impressed with the thought. Convey the impression of advancement with everything you do, so that all people shall receive the impression that you are an advancing man, and that you advance all who deal with you. Also, give people you meet socially the thought of increase. You can convey this impression by holding the unshakable faith that you are in the way of increase, by letting this faith inspire, fill, and permeate every action. Do everything that you do in the firm conviction that you are an advancing personality and that you are giving advancement to everybody. Feel you are getting rich, and that in doing so, you are making others rich, that you are conferring benefits on all. Do not boast or brag of your success or talk about it unnecessarily. True faith is never boastful. Wherever you find a boastful person, you will find one who is secretly doubtful and afraid. Simply feel the faith and let it work out in every transaction. Let every act and tone and look express a quiet assurance that you are getting rich, that you are already rich. Words will not be necessary to communicate this feeling to others. There will feel a sense of increase when they are in your presence, and will be attracted to you. You must inspire others that they will feel in associating with you that they will get increase for themselves. See that you give them the use value greater than the cash value you are taking from them. If you always take an honest pride in doing this and let everybody know it, you will always have customers. People will go where they are given increase, and the supreme power, which desires increase in everything and which knows everything, will move toward you, men and women who have never heard of you. Your business will increase rapidly, and you will be surprised at the unexpected benefits which come to you. You will be able to make larger contributions to secure greater advantages and to go on into the more congenial vocation if you desire to do so. However, in doing all this, you must never lose sight of your vision. You never lose sight of your vision of what you want or the faith and the purpose. Let me here give you another word of caution in regard to motives. Beware of the insidious temptation to seek power over other people. Nothing is so pleasant to the uninformed or partially developed. Nothing is so pleasant to the uninformed or partially developed mind as to exercise power or dominion over others. The desire to rule for selfish gratification has been the curse of the world. For countless ages, kings and lords have drenched the earth with blood in the battles to extend their dominions. They have not been engaged in the effort to seek more life for all, but to get power for themselves. Today, the main motive is business and industrial world is the same. People marshal their armies of dollars and lay waste to the lives and hearts of millions in the same mad scramble for the power over others. Commercial kings, like political kings, are inspired by the lust for power. Look out for the temptation to seek authority, to become a master, to be considered as one who is above the common herd, and to impress others by lavish display. The mind that seeks for mastery over others is a competitive mind, and the competitive mind is not the creative one. In order to master the environment of your destiny, it is not at all necessary that you should rule over your fellows. And indeed, when you fall into the world's struggle for high places, you begin to be conquered by fate and environment, and getting rich becomes a matter of chance and speculation. Beware of the competitive mind. No better statement of this principle of creative action can be formulated than the favorite declaration of the late Golden Rule Jones. What I want for myself, I want for everybody. There you go, chapter 7, 4, and 14. And